Ah, summer. It's finally almost here again. The northern solstice, and my favorite season. When it comes to summer, the wetter the better. Usually, but does that apply to video games? Usually gamers hate water levels. Some might even say they're a beach. But in any case, here's some great games that will get you in the mood to hang out by the pool with a beverage of your choice, and hopefully some tasty burgers and dogs on the grill too. These games are perfect for a day inside, avoiding 100-degree heat and sunburns, or a long family car road trip. Just don't forget your Switch and headphones. Please note, this video contains extremely minor spoilers. I won't go into any detail about the game's plot, though. If you hate the content, don't forget to dislike and unsubscribe. Tony Hawk's Underground 2. Underground 2 is a bit of a black sheep in the Tony Hawk series, coming at a time where its best days were probably behind it, but at the same time managing to be a quality experience. And to be fair, almost any of the games in Hawk's series would probably fit the bill here. Well, almost any Tony Hawk game. But I'm picking Thug 2 specifically, thanks to the levels. Gone are the snowy bowls of Canada in Tony Hawk 3, or the dark, cold areas from Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, like the hangar. And instead, we're left with a slew of summery skateboarding stages, perfect for goofy footing around. While it may not be as fondly remembered as some of the best in the series, this one holds a special place in my heart anyway, as I managed to avoid a summer job one year through sheer ingenuity and spent a couple of weeks 100%ing this one. Anyways, back to what makes the game perfect to satisfy your skating needs this summer, let's talk about a few of the stages. First off, we've got the Australia stage, based on Bondi Beach in a suburb of Sydney. You'll be skating and exploring up and down the boardwalk, and even stepping foot in the sand and grinding on the lifeguard station. An absolute beaut of a place that I'd give my middle testicle to visit in real life. Next up, we have New Orleans, with its sunny skies, sumptuous seafood, and Mardi Gras partygoers. Granted, Mardi Gras takes place in February or March, but often temperatures in New Orleans at this time can be in the mid to high 70s anyway, so we'll count it. Next up is Barcelona, which has a beautiful bay and boardwalk as well, with buoys bouncing and fountains blasting water up into the sky. Then there's Boston, where again you'll see ships docked in a bay. And I can tell you this from experience, the fact that the sun is even shining and there's no snow on the ground proves that this stage is probably set somewhere between June and August, because that's basically the only time Beantown sees any kind of good weather. There's also Triangle, an homage to the Bermuda Triangle, and an unlockable stage somewhere in the Caribbean, which takes place on a deserted island full of shipwrecks. And finally, there's my favorite stage of all, Skatopia. It's based on a real location in Rutland, Ohio, that's been in operation for almost 30 years now. A true Neverland on Earth, a place where skaters, punks, and hippies of the world can converge every summer and get weird. This is another place I'd love to see just once in my life before the great game over at the end of the road. Phew, that was just the first entry. I talked too much about Tony Hawk again. My therapist says this is why I'm alone. But I don't care. Leave a comment below if you'd like to see a full Tony Hawk video of some kind, as it's something I'm considering in the future. Okay, do you really want to be scared this summer? Then play Subnautica. As you could probably tell from the game, the majority of this one is played underwater. I've heard this game described as an oceanic no man's sky, and for good reason. You'll be exploring vast undersea biomes, collecting and cataloging aquatic wildlife, and upgrading your tools as you fight for survival. Developer Unknown Worlds Entertainment put some real love and care into crafting their underwater world, and the different sections really look and feel uniquely separate from one another, a very welcome characteristic for an open exploration game such as this one. Just don't think that you're going to be relaxing the whole time, because depending on your personality, this one might have your blood pressure rising. Abzu is the artsy Subnautica, another underwater game that will leave you moister than an oyster. You could almost say it's the game that would be born if Journey and Subnautica got together on a hot, steamy July evening, and you know what? I can't joke about such things when the pure beauty and simplicity of Abzu is in front of my eyes. Another game with beautiful graphics, a fantastic soundtrack, and an admirable sense of space and scope, Abzu is perfect for when you want to feel like you're drowning, but also a sunflower amongst all of God's sea children. This game's on my list to finish this summer. Maybe it should be added to yours too. Next up is an all-time classic, Wave Race 64. You can't go wrong with this one. Everything about the game just screams summer for me. From the bright, fluorescent 90s colors, to the fantastic soundtrack, to the early 3D polygonal water graphics. Seriously though, the wave physics in this game, released in 1996, are remarkable to me. It's mind-boggling how a game released this early in the 3D era of gaming could nail the visual sensation of being on a jet ski. They were just beginning creating games that function on the X and Y axis, period, and Wave Race comes along and uses an elastic, responsive ground texture in a racing game that far back. The devs of this game really went the extra 9 yards, with the diligence of the kid who reminds the teacher that she forgot to collect the homework, but the coolness of the kid who never bothered turning it in anyway. Many people only know this N64 entry, but Wave Race actually first began on the Game Boy in 1992, and its final entry in the series, at least at the time of this writing, was in 2001 with Blue Storm on the GameCube. Still, Wave Race 64 is the one that sticks in my memory the most, and I highly recommend blasting the AC and booting this one up on a hot summer's day. But Wave Race isn't the only jet ski game in town. Ah yes, the imposters. You'd think these would be cheap knockoffs, but you know something? They're actually all pretty great in their own right. Starting with Hydro Thunder, the best place to play this one, as well as its excellent 2010 sequel Hurricane, is in the arcade. And I swear it's not just because the physical jet ski that you sit on vibrates under your groin. But seeing as arcades are few and far between now, you might have to settle for a console experience, which is still nothing to shake a stick at either. A North American Dreamcast launch title. $99.99 anyone? Hydro Thunder won over our hearts with fantastic physics, great graphics, and a real sense of speed. Both games are nearly just as fun today as they were on launch. Then, you've got the Jet Moto series on the PlayStation. If you were a PlayStation kid growing up, you swore that this was just as good as Wave Race. And to some, it probably is. The game's got a lot going for it, and a pretty robust single-player campaign mode. It's become sort of a cult classic after all these years. Alternatively, the Splashdown series was also a high-quality water ski gaming franchise. The first game, from 2001, and its sequel, Riders Gone Wild, from 2003, are both fun, arcade-style racers for the PS2. They also contain a very fun stunt mode, where you can compete against the CPU or a local friend to see who can get the highest score, a la a Tony Hawk game. The controls on this one are very tight, probably partially in thanks to the wonderful DualShock PS2 controller, and it still holds up to this day for a fun experience on the water. You ever think to yourself, you know, real-world sports are great, but they're missing one thing: math. If so, you'll probably love Final Fantasy X's Blitzball even more than I do. An admittedly bizarre but very robust minigame that spans almost the entire length of your party's main quest, Blitzball is essentially underwater handball. Throughout your journey into Spira, you can recruit new members to your team and play games at every save point to earn some very nice items. It's an oddly relaxing but intermittently intense experience. Aside from Blitzball, Final Fantasy X also contains some very summery locations on the world map. First of all, there's Besaid Island, the beautiful tropical paradise in the beginning of the game, where you can swim around or enjoy the sights and take in the local waterfalls, all while enjoying the gorgeous, sunny backing music. There's also Sanubia Desert on Beaconell Island, home of the Al Bhed. You might want to pack your sunscreen if you head here though, and watch out for giant sandworms. Super Mario Sunshine. You had to know this one was coming, right? If you're a Mario fan, but haven't tried Sunshine yet because it's one of the weirder 3D entries, there's no better time to dip your toe in than this summer. Unsurprisingly, in this game you play as Mario, but your platforming will be heavily altered by the presence of Flood. Part Jetpack and part Super Soaker 3000, Flood allows Mario to spray, hover, and slide your way across some classic Nintendo 3D stages. Sunshine does possess a bit of a challenge to it compared to most mainline Mario adventures, but at its best it reaches that Nintendo peak of quality that you just can't find elsewhere, especially in platformers. Set on the sunny Isle Delfino, Sunshine comes in complete with an up-tempo sunny soundtrack perfect for the game's atmosphere. This one's probably most easily playable via the Mario Collection on Switch, unless you've got a GameCube kicking around. Supposedly, Splatoon began as an experiment tied to Mario Sunshine, perhaps even a sequel. Instead, it became a family-friendly third-person shooter for the Wii U, spawning 2 sequels on the Switch, the last of which is slated to release sometime later in 2022. If Splatoon's cartoony graphics turned you off from it, I'm here to tell you that if you like shooters, once you learn the basics of this one, you'll get caught hook, line, and sinker. Splatoon 2 itself provides a lot of variety in gameplay, from the single-player campaign and its DLC, to both the unranked and ranked PvP game modes with different objectives and win conditions, to the popular PvE co-op Salmon Rush mode. While I haven't touched either Splatoon 1 or 2 in a hot minute, Splatoon 3 will still be a day one purchase for me again, because every time I boot these games, I feel like a squid again. I feel like a kid again. Amusement parks are often the last bastion of summer freedom for teenagers headed towards high school graduation. Or headed towards the hospital if it's Action Park. But whether it's working the ring toss stand or just visiting with friends, there's something for kids and adults of all ages amongst the exciting attractions. Roller Coaster Tycoon does an admirable job of recreating that feeling, especially considering its initial entry was from 1999, but all the way up until its latest 2018 sequel as well. We're gonna ignore the 2020 mobile puzzle game. Seriously, don't even look that game directly in the eye, it can sense fear. If you've never played any of these games, they're very similar to city building and simulation games such as The Sims, SimCity, or Cities Skylines. And like those games, this one will bring out the worst in you, should you so decide. Want to build a roller coaster that launches your unlucky paying customers straight into the sky and crashing into oblivion? Well, I won't stop you, and neither will the game, which apparently takes place in a universe where lawsuits don't exist. When you're done murdering people in cold blood, the game will happily accept you once again with a fresh, clean plot of land and a new save that you can use to build the most exciting, magical, and profitable park that your mind can create. Firewatch is one of those games I'd love to talk at length about, but as I said in the intro, we're not going too deep into spoiler country here. We are, however, going deep into fire country, specifically that of Yellowstone National Park in the late 1980s. A story-driven game, this one builds suspense throughout your playthrough with some very well-acted voiceovers and cutscenes. If you ever went camping as a kid, you'll feel right at home in the lush forest's beautiful settings, tinged with a hint of fear and apprehension. Ghost stories, anyone? Anyway, this game was written and designed by Chris Remo, who also did the soundtrack. While he didn't fully complete the game alone, this is still a singular vision and story, and one that's won a ton of awards since its 2016 release. And it's available on essentially every major current platform, so go play it already. I love Windjammers. Simple as that. Incredibly, a playable Neo Geo cabinet of this game still exists right on a beach near me, like a 2-minute walk from the sand and the shore on a boardwalk. An interesting take on a sport where the premise is halfway between soccer and frisbee, Windjammers essentially acts as the ultimate version of Pong, at least in my eyes. Sometimes the simplest games are the best, and Windjammers with a friend was always a blast. If you aren't as lucky as me to have this one readily available nearby, there's also a recent sequel in Windjammers 2, released on PC, Switch, and PS5 in 2021, which I can vouch for as well. Perhaps it's not a game you'll want to play for hours on end, but what's more perfect for summer than a game where you pick up and play in small bursts whenever you need a break from the heat stroke outside? That's definitely what Windjammers 2 is, and I'll probably never stop loving these games. And finally, our last game, Echo the Dolphin for Sega Genesis. Look friends, this one's a bona fide classic too, but personally, I've never made it further than an hour or so in. Maybe my summer reading assignment this year is to play more Echo and report back on my thoughts. Objectively though, the game is beautiful for a 16-bit title, and from what I know of the story and the mechanics, it's a unique and quirky experience that's well worth your time. It's also on the Switch Online Genesis app, so it's nice and easy to access if you're a Switch user. And there you have it, a handful of games of different genres and eras that will help you get in the mood for summer. Or maybe you're watching this video in November, longing for a return to those long, golden, sunny days and peaceful evenings of the summer months. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this list and the video, and if you've made it this far, consider giving it a like and a sub to help the channel get on its feet. And then probably back off its feet again, at least next time a giant wave appears over the horizon.